Discover the mystery behind the Tower of Babel. Who built it, and where is it today? The Tower of Babel has always been the subject of a lot of speculation and curiosity, but what does the Bible really say about it? In this video, we will explore more about the Babel Tower in the light of the Bible. Let's unravel the myths and know the truth behind this intriguing story. The city of Babel, mentioned in the Bible after the flood, was founded by Nimrod, who challenged the divine orders to spread and populate the earth. Babel was the first city mentioned in the book of Genesis after the flood, and its location later became the famous Babylon. Nimrod also founded other cities such as Erech, Akkad, and Calne. Babel is believed to have been the first headquarters of the Nimrod government, starting his kingdom. The population of Babel decided to unify and build a city in the Sinai plain, thus disobeying the divine order of dispersion. This attitude marked the beginning of the construction of the Tower of Babel to fortify the city, symbolizing the rebellion against God and the pride of civilization of the time. The construction of the Tower of Babel was a milestone in the history of humanity, symbolizing not only the refusal to spread through the earth, but also the arrogant attempt to challenge divine authority. The expression "whose summit touches the heavens" represents the pride and the excessive ambition of the civilization of the time, which sought to reach the heavens with their own hands. The tower was not just a physical structure, but a symbol of men's rebellion against God. The materialization of this refusal to obey divine orders reflected not only disobedience, but also the lack of confidence in God's promise that there would never be a flood to destroy the earth. The construction of the Tower of Babel reveals not only the stubbornness of the human being to follow his own way, but also the desire to match God and challenge his supreme authority. The Tower of Babel, despite not having its physical structure described in detail in the Bible, is often associated with the Mesopotamian temple towers called ziggurats. These structures were rectangular, built at various levels accessible by stairs and ramps. They usually had a courtyard that gave access to the second floor and other external staircases that led to the top of the tower. The ziggurats were places of worship with a sanctuary at the top where divinity was honored. Although we do not know for sure how many levels the Tower of Babel possessed or whether it worked as a ziggurat-similar sanctuary, these ancient structures help us visualize the possible shape and purpose of the famous Bible Tower. The construction of the Tower of Babel was a monumental challenge for that old people. In the Babel region, there were no stones available to be used as bricks or mortar lime. Therefore, many buildings in that region were made with dried clay bricks in the sun or prepared in ovens. The foundations of buildings were also made of stepped clay, and bitumen was used as mortar. The well-known Mesopotamian temple towers, called ziggurats, serve as a reference to understand the shape of the Tower of Babel. These rectangular structures were built at various levels accessible by stairs and ramps. They usually had a courtyard that gave access to the second floor and other external staircases that led to the top of the tower. Although we do not know how many levels the Tower of Babel had or had the function of sanctuary like the ziggurats, we can infer a lot about its possible appearance and construction based on these ancient structures. The location of the Tower of Babel is a mystery wrapped in various theories and speculation. Some scholars agree with the tradition transmitted by Jews and Arabs that the tower was located in the Tubal Temple, about 16 kilometers south of Babylon. This temple tower had 7 levels, and the name turnip possibly derives from an expression that means energy tower. Another suggestion places the Tower of Babel in the city of Babylon, in a structure known as Et Menanche, which means the house of the foundation of heaven and the earth. This construction was a staggered pyramid about 100 meters high. However, it was destroyed by Xerxes, leaving only a huge crater in its place. Other scholars propose that the tower was west of Baghdad, Iraq. Although this theory is less accepted due to modifications in the region over the centuries, there are still Jewish traditions that talk about the fate of the Tower of Babel, from being consumed by divine fire to being knocked down by the force of the wind. The true location of the tower remains a puzzle, but its symbolic importance as a landmark of human disobedience and divine judgment is undeniable. The story of the destruction of the Xerxes Tower of Babel is wrapped in mystery and controversy. According to some traditions, King Xerxes, known for his military campaigns and territorial achievements, would have decided to demolish the Tower of Babel as an act of challenge to the local gods. It is believed that Xerxes, when seeing the grandeur of the tower as a symbol of power and worship to a foreign deity, has ordered its destruction as a way of affirming its supremacy and reinforcing its mastery over that region. However, other versions of history suggest that the Tower of Babel was consumed by a mysterious fire that spread rapidly, reducing it to ashes in a matter of hours. The exact nature of this fire remains unknown, feeding theories and legends about divine interventions or natural causes. Regardless of the real reason behind the fall of the Tower of Babel, its disappearance has left an indelible mark in people's history and imagination over the centuries. The history of the Tower of Babel is a powerful reminder of divine judgment and the dispersal of peoples after the confusion of tongues. According to the biblical account, the construction of the tower symbolized the rebellion and arrogance of men who openly challenged God's orders. The Lord, seeing humanity's excessive ambition to build a tower that reached the heavens, decided to intervene and punish that act of disobedience. The confusion of tongues was the means by which God dispersed that people and made them spread to the earth, beginning the cultural and linguistic diversity we know today. This striking event in biblical history not only demonstrates divine sovereignty about creation, but also teaches valuable lessons about the limits of human ambition and the consequences of rebellion against God. The discussion about whether the confusion of tongues in the Tower of Babel was a global or local event is a complex theme that divides scholars and theologians. Some argue that the confusion of languages was a global event, affecting all humanity, and resulting in the linguistic diversity we know today. According to this interpretation, before the construction of the Tower of Babel, all peoples spoke the same language, and the dispersion caused by the confusion of languages was responsible for the formation of different languages and cultures around the world. On the other hand, there are scholars who argue that the confusion of languages was a local event, limited to the Semitic peoples of the Babel region. This view suggests that the biblical account of the Tower of Babel focuses on a specific group of people and not necessarily in all humanity. The interpretation of the geographical extension of divine judgment in the Tower of Babel remains the object of debate and reflection among those who study the Holy Scriptures. The history of the Tower of Babel serves as an impactful reminder of the fragility of human nature and the constant temptation to challenge divine will. The construction of the tower represented not only the union and ambition of the people of Babel, but also their stubbornness to overlap with God's orders. The Tower of Babel became a lasting symbol of human rebellion and arrogance, reflecting the wrong belief that human beings could reach the divine through their own achievements. The fall of the Tower of Babel and the dispersal resulting from peoples are vivid memories of the inevitable consequences of disobedience and excessive pride. By studying this biblical passage, we are confronted with the reality that the pursuit of power and earthly glory can lead to spiritual ruin and the separation of God. The Tower of Babel remains a solemn warning to all who seek to challenge the limits established by the Creator and follow their own ways. The story of the Tower of Babel invites us to reflect on human nature and man's relationship with the divine. She teaches us valuable lessons about the dangers of arrogance, disobedience, and the pursuit of boundless power. The construction of the Tower of Babel symbolizes the attempt of the human being to rise above his own limits and challenge God's authority. The divine judgment that resulted in the confusion of tongues and the dispersal of peoples serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of humility, respect for divine laws, and union rather than division. In studying this biblical episode, we are confronted with our own fragility and the need to recognize our dependence on God. May the history of the Tower of Babel inspire us to seek a deeper relationship with the sacred, to cultivate humility in our actions, and to value diversity as a reflection of the divine will. If you want to keep exploring fascinating biblical stories like this, subscribe to the channel and enable notifications to not miss any video. I hope you enjoyed knowing more about the Tower of Babel. Share this video with your friends and family so that more people can learn about these amazing Bible narratives. Until the next video.